talking about bets, give me your bet on Urban Meyer not being the coach in Jacksonville
minus
next year.
10,000.
That he's not the coach.
Correct.
Yeah, Urban Meyer sucks.
It would be very, very wild if they did bring him back, especially with the fact that he's messing with arguably their best and most efficient offensive player in James Robinson.
Their most important draft pick of all time.
Oh, arguably the most highly touted prospect outside of Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Trevor Lawrence.
In Elway.
Elway's another one, definitely. His input had some kind of influence on Urban Meyer where he said, hey, what's going on with James Robinson? We need to start getting the ball. And that's when Urban Meyer got James Robinson back in the game. But there was moments where he didn't even know the personnel that was on the field. Someone asked him, like, what are you going to do with getting this guy minutes? And he said that, oh, no, he definitely had an impact. He logged 0 attempts on the field or zero snaps on the field.
So the exact quote was that Urban Meyer was asked about safety Andre Cisco, about playing more. And he said, Cisco is playing a little more, I believe. I don't have his numbers in front of me. And Cisco played 0 defensive snaps that game.
It's just embarrassing. As a head coach, you need to be on top of these things.
Did Urban Meyer ruin Trevor Lawrence's rookie season? Should he be fired after the season? Drew, you gave some of your thoughts on it. I know you came in here talking about a report with Josh Lambo and how Urban Meyer kicked him.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this?
Yeah, it was funny. I was going back actually just through our notes, and we had this debate months ago, honestly. It was like when I was just doing a guest, like a one-off appearance that I came on, and one of the questions was, will Urban Meyer be the head coach next year? And in those notes, I was like, no, I think he's been a complete failure. And 6 weeks later, however long later, it's been an even bigger failure. I mean, it's one thing if you can't coach. Adam Gase can't coach. He's a terrible coach. But Urban Meyer is a distraction to the team. The players don't respect him. He's undisciplined. He's irresponsible. Like all of these adjectives you want to throw out there to make you we're not talking about bad coach. This is a bad person. You know, in terms of like the players don't respect him. There's this report from Tom Pelissero that came out. So there was 3 things that really stood out. The first one was with Marvin Jones, a veteran, respected player. He's been in this league for multiple seasons. He got so heated after an argument with Urban Meyer that he left the facility, and other staff members, not Urban, called him and said, yo, my bad. Other staff members had to come in to Marvin Jones, call him on the phone, whatever they did, text him, be like, yo, come back in, let's figure this out. It was also reported that Meyer delivered a message that he's a winner, and all of his assistant coaches are losers. And he put these assistant coaches on the spot and made them defend their resume and asked them, what did they win? I get it, Urban Meyer. You were a winner in college. Nobody cares. Win in the NFL because you're not winning right now. And then the James Robinson situation where he said he had nothing to do with this benching. He goes after the game, I had nothing to do with it. It comes out later that he had the running back coach stop James. Robinson was about to go back in. He told the running back coach, make sure James Robinson doesn't enter this game. It wasn't until Trevor Lawrence came up into Urban Meyer and said, yo, you got to get James Robinson in this game. I mean, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're not that talented at offense. James Robinson's their best weapon. And, that's just his personality, like his mindset, his coaching. It's not there. He can't coach grown men. I think that's pretty apparent. But, I mean, we saw this early on. It started with him hiring Chris Doyle, the strength and conditioning coach, who was accused of bullying and racism in college, and then drafted Etienne in the first round, even though they had James Robinson, who had a historic rookie season for an undrafted player, and they had holes literally everywhere across the team, and they still went and drafted Etienne. And then the whole Tim Tebow experiment, which everyone knew was going to fail. Why are you bringing Tebow in? He's not going to be a backup. He's not a special teams guy. He's not a practice squad guy. You just brought him in, and he was just a distraction to the team. And then lastly, the game against Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football, he doesn't fly home with the team. Instead, he goes to some bar, and he's pictured or video recorded of some random girl grinding on him while he has a wife. These are grown men. These are 53 grown men. These are, 30 coaches. You have executives, GMs, presidents of these teams. You're getting paid millions of dollars. His organization's worth $1 billion, and you've been a joke. Urban Meyer is going to be fired. He should be fired. He should never coach in the NFL again.
Yeah, I look at Jacksonville, and we all know they're dysfunctional. When I look at Urban Meyer, the transition from college to the NFL has not worked out. The same thing we're seeing with Matt Rule. And it's quite ironic that Matt Rule and Urban Meyer, who had a lot of success in college, come to the NFL and they're not very good. On the flip side, Cliff Kingsbury, who was knocked for not having success in college, comes into the NFL and has been great. He's in the running for Coach of the Year this year. After After Jacksonville's loss to Tennessee, Urban Meyer was asked about the game the previous week, about the Rams and the game plan and how it was different coming into this week. Urban Meyer didn't even know he played the Rams. I mean, that's just a week ago, and you don't even know the team that you played.
It's lost.
The Jaguars are the only bright spot is really their defense. They're 21st in yards. They haven't been abysmal, and 27th in points. Urban Meyer needs to go because of all those things you mentioned. But most importantly, he has to go because Trevor Lawrence has been regressing as the season has been progressing. You look at Lawrence, he has only thrown one touchdown since November 7th. He had 4 interceptions in one game against Tennessee. If Trevor Lawrence was having an outstanding rookie season, Urban Meyer's job is safe. All these stories, they don't matter as long as Trevor is succeeding. But because he's not, this matters, and it matters a whole ton. He's on a 6-year, $60 million contract. The way the Khans operate, Shad Khan, Gus Bradley, Doug Marrone, they were in Jacksonville for 4 years. They had seasons where they were bad, but they didn't pull the trigger until the 4th season. Khan has said that we're going to do what's right for the team. Who knows if they're going to fire Urban Meyer or not, based on this team's history and the owner's history. 4 years is what they give every coach. We'll see if that's an exception for Urban Meyer and he gets fired before, but to this point, that's been it. What I want the Jaguars to do is I want them to go out and get Jim Caldwell. I think with Detroit, he was great for them. He's a great defensive mind.
Respected.
He's going to bring culture to the Jaguars, and I think he'd be a great head coach for them. I think Urban Meyer should be done from Jacksonville, though. I think all these reports are alarming, even if they're not true, like Urban Meyer likes to say they're not. The fact that somebody is willing to go out and risk their job to report it is alarming. He needs to be gone from Jacksonville.
Yeah, this isn't, and Tom Pelissero, this isn't some random beat report. Like, this is one of the biggest national reporters in the NFL. And while I agree, the Khans do usually give 4 years for their coaches, especially when they play poorly, I think this is a very unique circumstance because when you're, disrespecting the organization and you have bad press out there, it seems like every month, every week, something new comes out about Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. I don't see a way you could keep him and retain him for another year and have to deal with all of this nonsense again.
There's just been no bright spot on this team, like you said, outside of defense. And that's even still loose. You know what I'm saying? I say that very loosely. You mentioned a little bit about the draft. You take Travis Etienne with that first pick. You could definitely use a little bit of O-line help. You definitely could use some help defensively on that defensive end. Literally,
Receiver,
legitimately,
receiver,
especially. And I feel like maybe that's the only thing that I'll give him leeway on, that Etienne has that ability to be a pass catcher. Obviously, him and Trevor did have some connection in college. They both went to Clemson. They both had success together. I understand that aspect of it. But you just had James Robinson, like you mentioned, who had one of the greatest seasons an undrafted player has ever had in their first year in the league. The only one I can remember off the top of my head, Terrell Davis, I want to say, was undrafted also. That could be wrong, and I sound like a terrible Bronco fan. But Phillip Lindsay was another one that he rushed for over 1,000 yards, and he was undrafted too. But James Robinson, he was undrafted?
Sixth round pick.
Close. Very, but still he got drafted. But James Robinson, undrafted, he's shown that he could be that guy when you give him the opportunity. And up until this point, you're messing with his confidence. You bring in a guy in the first round to prove to almost to a degree you need a running back. And then now you're benching him for Carlos Hyde, who has been on multiple teams over these last couple of years. And all because of one fumble in a game where you're already getting smoked by. And also, let me give credit to James Robinson. He got tackled by Aaron Donald and fumbled that ball. Like, if there was anyone that I'm getting tackled by and just, hey, it's Aaron Donald, what am I going to do? It's that kind of moment right there. He has done nothing to help these guys, especially how Joel said it too. Trevor Lawrence is the most integral part of this organization for years to come. At least that's what they're hoping. I'm sure no one wanted to see Trevor have a 9-14 touchdown to interception ratio. That's absolutely the dead last thing they wanted. They expected him to have the Mac Jones type season. And Trevor Lawrence does have some decent yardage, but nothing to put forward to in terms of touchdowns. And that's ultimately what you're looking for out of a rookie. You want to see, especially a guy of Trevor Lawrence caliber, or at least expectations of what Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be. You want to see him shine. And we haven't seen any of that from the Jaguars, other than a few pieces on defense, Josh Allen, obviously. But other than that, there's nothing I really can ride home about the Jaguars. Urban Meyer has done a very poor job of developing these guys, giving them any type of confidence. And it's inevitable that he's gone. There's actually another report, Jerome Baker, middle linebacker for Miami. He came out and tweeted, karma's finally coming back at him. So I wonder if maybe he was already doing shady things like this. He was a Buckeye, yes, in college. I wonder if he was doing shady things in Ohio State.
If he was doing it in Jacksonville, I mean, you could get away with a lot more in college when you're the face of the whole program. You know, it's different in the NFL.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by it, but when you're a coach, you're going to get disliked by some players. You know, maybe Jerome Baker, maybe Urban Meyer didn't favor Jerome Baker, and that's why they got this relationship. You know, who knows?